Leaders around the world want to create 15-minute cities to make everything easily accessible without cars. But some worry there's a darker motive. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. If you're watching this, the chances are good you're living in a city. According to the World Bank, 56% of the world's population lives in cities. And if the trend continues, the urban population will more than double its current size by 2050, at which point nearly 7 of 10 people will live in cities. Meaning folks trying to find love on Farmers Only will have an even smaller dating pool to choose from. I'm not willing to date anyone if they're more than 6 miles away, and these poor farmers have to commute 3 states over if they don't want to die alone. But many cities, especially the ones in the US, are built around cars. That can mean getting stuck in high-polluting, gridlocked traffic just to get to basic necessities like schools and supermarkets. But what if everything was within easy walking or biking distance from your home? Not only would that make your life easier, but it would help the environment by eliminating the need for cars. Sounds too good to be true? Probably. But that hasn't stopped governments around the world from trying. Paris's Mayor Anne Hidalgo ran on the 15-minute city in her successful 2020 re-election campaign. And now Paris plans to be a 100% cycling city by 2026. And let's just say, with the way France has been cracking down on protesters, they're also really encouraging people to get outside and run. Other countries are launching variations of the 15-minute city as well. Poland, Italy. In 2016, Shanghai announced plans to introduce what it called 15-minute community life circles. And another 50 Chinese cities followed. That's life circles, not life expectancy. Easy to confuse those when it's a plan coming from China. Utrecht in the Netherlands already claims to be a 15-minute city and is working on being a 10-minute city. Is it just me, or is this starting to sound like that crazy guy from Something About Mary's plan to beat 8-minute abs by inventing 7-minute abs? We're all going to wind up with 2-minute cities, which is just a giant target. And no one wants to live in those. Of course, not everyone thinks 15-minute cities are realistic. That's why some cities are pushing 20-minute cities. Good old Portland, never change. The biggest and most ambitious of these 15-minute cities is Saudi Arabia's 100-plus mile long project called The Line. It's a vertical city with no roads, no cars, 9 million people, and will run purely on renewable energy. Sounds like a great idea. After all, Saudi Arabia is known for being a great humanitarian state with no interest in fossil fuels. But somehow I feel like the idea of making a vertical city that towers to the heavens has been done before. But you know who else likes the idea of 15-minute cities? The World Economic Forum. You know, the people behind the Great Reset who say by 2030 we'll own nothing and be happy? And that we really should be eating the bugs to fight climate change. Surely their opinion on 15-minute cities will be non-controversial, though somehow I doubt this guy will be living with the rest of us plebs. According to the World Economic Forum, COVID made 15-minute cities into a necessity. With COVID-19 and its variants keeping everyone home, the 15-minute city went from a nice-to-have to a rallying cry, meaning all of one's needs within a walking, biking, or transit distance was suddenly a matter of life and death. The pandemic created an urgency around equitable urbanism. Urgent, equitable urbanism is a matter of life and death? It sounds like a euphemism for millennials saying, if I can't walk to a Starbucks, I'm literally going to die. So I'm sure we're all on board for 15-minute cities now, right? Well, turns out there might be a few problems. I'll tell you more after the break. Welcome back. So 15-minute cities sound great. What kind of person wouldn't like the idea of everything being within a 15-minute commute? I mean, look at this wonderful utopia the World Economic Forum shows us we could have. Oh, but gosh, there's a problem. That home in the center of everything, we probably won't all be able to live in it. Unless it was one really massive tower, I'm just saying we could give it a try again. But then if there's another home, say, well, here, then that home suddenly isn't part of a 15-minute city, which is why that home in the center would probably be very expensive. And so, my friends, welcome to the world of basic market principles. So not everyone would be able to afford to live in this prime location. Well, unless of course the government owned the property and fixed the rates. But would all these businesses be able to perfectly thrive based on that one home? If any one of them fails, then suddenly you wouldn't be in a 15-minute city. Of course, I guess they could all be state-backed. And the wages of workers would, of course, have to be fixed by the government to make everything work as well. Anyway, some conspiracy theorists think 15-minute cities would actually be a dystopia. Crazy. But as I said, some places have already tried making 15-minute cities into a reality. So let's have a look at a specific one, right after this quick commercial break. Welcome back. Oxford, England became the poster child for 15-minute cities with a pilot project to create 3 low-traffic districts in 2022 and 6 more by 2024. The plan is to use traffic filters to reduce traffic by targeting unnecessary journeys by cars. I wonder how the government determines what's an unnecessary journey. Now, the Oxford City Council assured people that the traffic filters are not physical barriers of any kind and will not be physical road closures. Oh, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. They are simply traffic cameras that can read number plates. If a vehicle passes through the filter at certain times of the day, the camera will read the number plate, and if you don't have an exemption or a residence permit, you will receive a fine in the post. Okay, so basically poor people will be confined to certain areas. I guess Klaus Schwab really won't be my neighbor. Buses and taxis will be allowed through, though, and so will emergency vehicles. But I know this may sound somewhat restrictive to some of you. But don't worry, if you're concerned about your freedom of movement, you can just ask the government for permission. Oxford residents will be able to apply for a permit, allowing them to drive through the traffic filters for up to 100 days each year. Wow, up to 100 days per year. That's almost a third of the year. You can just go where you like. Thanks, government. Of course, you're free to bike anywhere you like, because biking to a place that's so far away you'd want to drive is the same thing. For some reason, though, thousands have protested the plan. Mark Dolan of British media GB News even went so far as to claim that Oxford was setting up a surveillance culture that would make Pyongyang envious. To which Pyongyang citizens responded, "We have no idea what you're talking about. Living in true Korea is great. You hear that? Great. To anyone who's listening, I have no complaints." The Oxford City Council, apparently bombarded by concerned citizens, put out an FAQ. Frequently asked questions shouted from the streets in mass protest. The Oxford experience has gotten politicians around Europe concerned. According to Politico, the issue even made its way to the House of Commons, where Tory MP Nick Fletcher described 15-minute cities as an international socialist concept whose ultimate purpose was to take away personal freedoms. Sounds like he's been watching a bit too much Hunger Games, and Black Mirror, and Dread, Land of the Dead, Blade Runner. Well, you get the point.
Low emission zones cost the taxpayer money, simple as. However, 15-minute cities will cost us our personal freedom, and that cannot be right.
German EU Parliament member Christine Anderson has argued that COVID-19 passports and QR codes were test runs for implementing 15-minute cities aimed at giving the government tighter control over people.
If you now fancy another store and it does not happen to be in your neighborhood, guess what? You won't be going to that store anymore. Make no mistake, it's not about your convenience. It's not that they want you to be able to, have all of these places that you need to get to very close. And it's not about saving the planet either, by the way.
So they're saying if I want to get breakfast, I have to go to the nearby Waffle House, instead of having the freedom and autonomy to go to the nicer Waffle House on the other side of town. Now, many media are saying the idea that 15-minute cities are a government ploy to limit the movement of citizens. That's just crazy conspiracy theories. After all, governments around the world would never lock down people for political reasons and justify it with some other excuse. That would never happen. So what do you think of 15-minute cities? Leave your comments below. And if you like this show, remember that we rely mainly on direct support from viewers like you. If you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, all it takes is as little as $1 per episode over on our crowdfunding website, Patreon. Visit patreon.com/AmericaUncovered for more. Click the link below. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.